Hello and welcome to Newshour. It's coming to you live from the BBC World Service in London. I'm Tim Franks. On Newshour, the next 30 minutes, Kazakhstan's autocratic leader says he's stepping down after 30 years in charge. We'll try to assess what his legacy will be and what may now change. India's second biggest airline is in trouble. Will the country's state-run banks rescue it? On the front line with Afghan special forces. And the fabulous ancient artefact that the British Museum was only too glad to return to Iraq. After this summary of the news. Next on Newshour, a big change in Kazakhstan. Before that, business news. And one of the iron rules of politics is that just before a general election, no government wants to report big job losses. Now the Indian government has asked state-run banks to step in and save the country's second biggest airline, Jet Airways. Mark Martin is an aviation analyst based in Delhi.
One of the biggest challenges that Jet has had over the last 7 or 10 years of their existence is trying to stabilize themselves financially. In 2011, they approached the government for a bailout package, and that was the first sign of their financial troubles. And following 2 years later, they sold a minority stake to Etihad. So clearly, their challenge has been on account of their growth financing and also, M&A decisions that have not been too effective for them, which was the acquisition of another airline in India called Sahara. So one of the biggest problems that they've had is trying to stabilize and keep up with competition as it evolved. And that's been a challenge for Jet.
And there are thousands of jobs, aren't there, that are at risk if Jet goes under?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're talking about, at least 11,000 jobs, pilots, engineers, an MRO, a global sales and marketing network, airport offices across the world, distribution, GDS, call centers. So it doesn't look good, and we're hoping, Tim, that the banks that have acquired equity for debt into Jet Airways come up with an action plan and a turnaround strategy, fast, because if they delay it and they continue to extend it from where we are today, it's not going to look good, and clearly they're pretty much wiping out what they have or what they have made over the last 24 months in terms of revenue.
Yeah, but at some point, and I hardly need tell you this, banks will think it's time to cut our losses. I mean, what chance is there that they will take up this government request that they swap debt for equity in Jet Airways?
Oh, yeah, what's happened is that the banks, it's government banks and a government fund that's acquired Jet Airways. And it looks like, Jet has sold banks' first-row seats on board the Titanic, because clearly the airline isn't going to pull out of this mess anytime soon. The fleet is down by 45%. Lessors have started to recover aircraft assets and take it back. So unless it's not just about acquiring equity, it's also about capital infusion. And what's happened over the last week, as we've all seen, is that Etihad is not willing to invest any more money in Jet. The promoter is not willing to put any more money in, and that leaves the bank who needs to, get the airline back on its feet. And as you know, banks have no idea how to run an airline.
The aviation analyst Mark Martin speaking to me from Delhi. This is Newshour, live from the BBC World Service. I'm Tim Franks.